The Irish Whisky Association represents 48 different distilleries that are based across the island of Ireland. And over the past 2 decades, we've seen exponential growth of the Irish whisky sector. A lot of that is focused on exports. About 95% of what we produce is exported all over the world. We're present in over 120 markets. And last year, that export value was worth, according to Board BIA figures, 875 million. Our biggest markets, of course, would be the US, the UK, the EU, but we're seeing rapid growth in a number of other markets, like in East Asia, like in Africa, like in the Indian subcontinent. And there's no better example than a Haskell distillery, a place that's really growing, especially all over Asia, to represent that. So we're hoping again for a very strong year. I mean, the Irish whisky sector, like all alcohol categories across the world, has seen a bit of a dip post-pandemic. We're still very positive. We're still on a trajectory of growth. And the figures that we've seen so far this year represent an uptick compared to last year. And then when it comes to supply, I mean, obviously we depend quite a lot on grain and on Irish grain farmers. We use about 300,000 tonnes of Irish grain every year. That's the whole sector across the island. We're very, very insistent on the strength of a local market and the strength of an EU single market also. It all depends on how the sowing season itself is affected. It's something that perhaps is a concern, not a growing concern or not too much of a concern, but something that we do have to think about as an Irish whisky sector, is how a bad harvest or a bad sowing season could impact eventually on supply. It's something that we look at all the time. We're always in constant contact with our farmers, with our suppliers, with the malters that we work with. It really just depends year on year. Sustainability is something that's becoming more and more important to the association and to its membership. And again, one of the reasons that we're here in a Haskell distillery is that it is a zero energy emissions distillery. It's almost exemplary in that the owner and the brand owner of this, Gareth McAllister, is the chair of our sustainability working group within the association. Across all the membership, there's a huge effort going on to make themselves more sustainable, to reduce their carbon emissions, and I suppose also to work as well with local suppliers to become more regenerative in their approach towards producing whisky. As the Irish whisky sector grows, so too will the demand and the need for a strong grain sector here in Ireland. So that's something that we do need to continue to work on, and that's why I suppose we need to be more sustainable in our approach, to be able to withstand those external pressures, be they weather, anything that can crop up. The strength of the farming sector and the agriculture sector in Ireland will play to our strength, as it does vice versa. The stronger we are, the more benefit it brings to the agriculture sector also. If you look back at 2010, there were 4 working distilleries in Ireland. Now there are almost 50. So there's been a huge growth in that sense of the sector. And with that comes great opportunity, but also great challenges. We as an association have to address that. We have to continue working, I suppose, on protection issues. What we're seeing is as the popularity of Irish whisky grows all over the world, we're seeing far more imitator brands propping up in other places, I suppose particularly in the US and maybe across Europe. That's one of the biggest roles of our association is to address that.